Today's topic is ruthless prioritization. So a few weeks ago, I was blessed with the opportunity to have pneumonia, something I've never had before, and something I'm still kind of getting over. It has definitely been a long recovery period, and there have been some complications. Those are mostly behind me now, but they have seriously compressed my time. I'm behind in a number of different fronts, and I turned to an old, familiar, tried and tested tool the other day that I wanted to share, which is doing to-do list and prioritization using Post-it notes. I manage my to-do list in a number of different ways. Trello is kind of the big vault that holds a lot of stuff. I often draw freehand mind maps on paper. I like working with different color pens, and a lot of times, and I prefer blank copy paper. I don't know, for whatever reason, the days of the legal pad with the to-do list just does not work for me anymore. I find the information just becomes information overload. It's hard to sort. It's hard to see what needs to be done. And while it does feel good to just kind of draw a line through things that are done, it just doesn't work as well. So I go back and forth again between three things: Post-it notes, Trello, and a blank piece of paper. I usually put it landscape. I have a clipboard, really old school, I know. And I will just put things in circles and then circle them, sometimes different color pens, and then I'll put a big X to the circle when it's done. So, but I found myself in a situation where I was having to jump back into things. I was starting to get better. I've been out of town. I was just a number of things that I was juggling that I just knew I was going to forget, whether it be rescheduling doctor appointments, meetings at work, canceling appointments. I was really in deep. So what I resorted to was Post-it notes, and I cannot recommend this enough. So I prefer the 4x4 yellow Post-its and a Sharpie. Strong recommendations on the use and the importance of a Sharpie. You can use a regular pen, but I think you'll find that the Sharpie stands out much better than a ballpoint pen. So I highly recommend a Sharpie on Post-it notes. You can also use 3x5 cards for this. I've done that as well. 3x5 cards are nice in the sense that they're portable. You can just kind of collect them all up, stick them in your pocket, and take them on the go. I have done that in the past when I felt really overwhelmed. So I guess that's actually a fourth way that I kind of track things that I'm working on or want to make sure eventually get done. So what I did with these Post-its was, anytime something popped into my head that I knew that I needed to do and I absolutely had to get done or there are going to be big consequences, I put it on a Post-it note. And then, much like Trello forces you to do, but it's easy to break when you're doing it on your desk or whatever, is I prioritize things top to bottom. So I put the absolute most important thing I needed. I had maybe the top 4 or 5. And then it was just a battle to just be really relentless about focusing on those things. So if the next item at the top of the stack was file status report for this product, that was what I had to just make sure that I had to do, because I was finding myself in a situation with really limited energy. In fact, there were a couple days where I had enough energy to work about half of the day, and then I had to just rest the rest of the day. There was just no more gas in the tank. I didn't have the cognitive abilities. My body was just screaming that it needed rest, and so I gave it what it needed. Knowing that I only had 4 or 5 hours at the most of energy that I could really pour into what needed to get done, I just had to be ruthless about this prioritization and this list of Post-its that had to get done. So again, big picture is anything that needs to get done or super critical, super urgent in this time of need that you're in, put it on a Post-it note, and then Post-its in a single column. Don't fall for the trap of creating 2 columns next to each other or putting 2 at the same level. highly recommend really, really like one right after the other, top to bottom, only one column, and then really, really focusing on working those items in order. And then when they're done, I just crumple them up and throw them away. And so I found that it worked really effectively at the start of each day and sometimes every hour or two to relook at that list and say, is this thing in the right order? Am I working these things in the order that's going to help me succeed given the finite amount of time and energy I have today? Another challenge I got from a friend that I have not successfully implemented, but I think is still a really good idea. His suggestion was to push this concept forward an additional week. So even now that, things have died down and I'm kind of getting back on top of all the things that need to be done, would be to continue to pretend that I have limited time and energy and continue to work the to-do list this way with this single column of Post-it notes. So I think it's a great idea. I have not implemented it, but I just might reconsider it after recording this. Curious if you have any ways that work for situations like this. If so, send them to podcast@johnpolster.com, and I'll consider sharing them on the podcast. Thanks for listening to The John Polster Show. Notes, links, and all that other good stuff for this episode are at johnpolster.com/podcast. If you have questions or ideas for the podcast, send those to podcast@johnpolster.com. Thanks to Kevin MacLeod for the music on this podcast, which is licensed under a Creative Commons license and can be found at incompetech.com.